All right, hello everybody. We're going to go through my Prezi about classical Greece, so let's get it going. All right, Greece, kind of the first really important civilization that dictates a lot of how we live and operate today, going on from 500 BC to 300 BC. Here's some pictures about the two main cities. This is Athens, and this is Sparta. They're very, very different. We'll talk about them. Ba-bam, ba-bam. All right. So Greeks have been living in Greece since around 1600 BC, but in 500 BC they started to become, a pretty big, serious entity. Some Greek words you gotta know. Greece is called Hellas in Greek. Yep, if you go to Greece, you're gonna see the word Hellas everywhere, and you'll be like, wow, that's strange. And the southern portion of Greece is also called the Peloponnesus. So I'm going to highlight that here in this picture. But these will come up in some of the documents that I'll use in class. So got to know some basic stuff here. Everything in the orange is kind of what is considered a part of Greece, Greek culture. And this southern part here, Peloponnesus, is the sort of center of the civilization. And the two main cities, Athens and Sparta, are kind of in the center of this big area here. All right, Greek religion. Greek religion is something I hope a lot of my students are already a little familiar with. There are 12 major gods. Each god had a unique purpose. There was the god of weather, a god of the ocean, a god of the underworld, a god of knowledge, a god of war. And the way that the Greeks worshiped their gods was a giant soap opera that was kind of always going on. The gods were not people who existed thousands of years ago who, have no changing atmosphere. Like, no, it was a changing environment. If there was a reality TV show in ancient Greece, it would be one just about how the gods are changing and how things are becoming different in their world. Yeah, and in my class, we're going to go through a little activity about all the different Greek gods. So a lot of people, Zeus is kind of the leader of the gods, the main god, but there were plenty of times throughout Greek history where Zeus was knocked down, other gods were brought up. And yes, each god does their own thing. So pretty cool. There's a savage image of Zeus, and this is the god of the underworld. So Hades is who you're looking at here. All right. Greeks loved the story of a hero. Most famously was the story of the Iliad and the Odyssey. It was sort of one story that had two parts. Hercules is another story I hope a lot of my students are familiar with. But the thing about the hero story is that men beat gods. That a strong man, or in some cases, a strong woman, could overcome the gods putting everything against them, and the person could be victorious. And this system where people are, can achieve anything, that is called humanism. It's men, women, people, we have the power. And we can't just put everything on fate, can't put everything on the gods. So this idea of humanism really is kind of the basis for democracy, and it's a big way of how our societies function today. We in America, it's the American dream. You put in a lot of hard work, and you can achieve. That really all came right back from ancient Greece. And here are some pictures of the Iliad. It was about the Greeks invading this neighboring country of Troy. During the invasion, there was a lot of famous fighters who fought each other. Yep, here they are just parading around this big city of Troy trying to get in. And they could never break the walls of Troy. But what the Greeks did is they presented the Trojans with a gift, a giant golden horse. And, I think it was wooden horse. Some people say gold, some say wooden. The Trojans brought in this gift thinking that it was some kind of way that the Greeks were saying they surrender. And then at night, the giant horse was opened up from the inside. All these Greek guys came out of it. They opened up the gates, and the Greeks destroyed the city. So never trust a Trojan horse, kids. It's bad news. All right, but now let's talk about the Odyssey. This is kind of the more famous story of the Odyssey and the Iliad. The Odyssey was about one of the guys who just finished the Trojan War, a guy named Odysseus. And Odysseus was on his boat of, his fellow guys, and they're just sailing across the sea trying to get back home to their island of Ithaca. And as he's going home, he does some stuff to piss off Poseidon, the god of the sea. And so Poseidon throws all these things in his way. He's get attacked by a serpent creature, a hydra. He gets attacked by a cyclops monster. At one point, all these mermaids start showing up and like trying to seduce his men. The mermaids take his guys out of the ship and drag him underwater and drown him. So there's all these challenges that was God versus man. And you would think, well, it's a god, like, this giant hydra creature, like, it's probably going to kill him. But Odysseus prevailed. Actually, there was one point in the story where Odysseus technically died, but he was such a hardcore dude that he got out of the underworld, went back to the real world, and eventually did make it home. So the idea of humanism is you can overcome anything and achieve. And I think that's really, really important to know. So there they are, stabbing the Cyclops in the eye, the mermaids trying to take his men down, the Hydra, and being in the underworld with Charon, the guide of the river Styx. All right. And so these ideas of humanism really highlight democracy. Okay, democracy, it's a kind of government that we are very familiar with, I hope. It's people choose their leaders. People all have equal say in determining who's the leader, what laws happen, so on, so on. Greece is definitely still a big democracy today. Greece has never stopped being a democracy. But over history, other countries have controlled Greece and sort of like limited all the rules they can make. But something I have to mention very clearly is America is not a true democracy. In fact, ancient Greece was probably the only true democracy that I can properly think of, in the sense that every person who could vote chose everything. There was a leader of ancient Greece, but he was more of a statesman, and he couldn't make any decision without other people all coming together and creating a majority vote. Instead, as time goes on, people said, it's too much effort for every single person to make a vote about every single issue. We are going to choose people to represent us and to make our voices known at, the legal level. And that system is called a republic. And that is what most countries are today, and that is what we are today. But republics are, definitely the second stage of democracies. And, calling America a democracy is technically incorrect, but, we are a republic based on democracy. So, cool to know. All right, this is the, picture of some guys gathering together doing democracy. I got to also admit that original Greek democracy, it was only wealthy Greek men. They were the only ones who could participate. So you couldn't really say true democracy. In my mind, I would say true democracy is all people. Well, maybe all people over the age of 18. There you go. They had some pretty strict requirements of who could participate in their government. And then here's some democratic stuff going on even in Greece today. And Greece was never a unified country. Okay, all of these little Greek democracies were city-based. There was no real national Greek identity until the year 1919. So yes, Greece is about to have its 100-year anniversary of finally being a united country. So whenever you think about Greece, you always got to understand that it's a whole bunch of city-states, little countries. And during all of history, and we're going to get into it in the next video, Greeks were fighting each other, causing a huge civil war. they were not united. In their individual cities, there were these democracies, and that was great. But when it came to city-city relations, it was bad. And I could tell you, if the Greeks were more united right from the get-go, their culture probably would have, been greater even longer. They could have been much more powerful, much stronger if they were united. And I think the early United States of America really learned from that. And that's why we were like, we got to create a constitution and bring everybody together and have one country. Because the Greeks, they had pretty good concepts of democracy, but they couldn't follow through with keeping everybody together. All right, I'll continue Greece Part 2 in the next video.